Been 50 years since Alabama won the SEC
Mm.
championship in 1974, and we're joined by safety Ricky Davis. And Ricky, first of all, I know you chuckled when I said 50 years. Does it feel like 50 years since you were part of that great team here in Alabama?
It really doesn't. I'm still got really good friends, and Sylvester Croom and I, we were co-captains that year, and Sly's a great friend, and I worked with him when he was coaching, and so he called me just like 2 minutes after the game Saturday. My phone rings, my cell phone, and it's Sylvester. We sat there for 30 minutes and talked over the Vandy game, but yeah, it was a great experience, and we had a great group of players, and obviously with Coach Bryant, that was really something special.
It certainly was, and we want to hear all about it. First of all, let's talk about your journey to Alabama. Tell us where you're from and how you started to get on Alabama's recruiting radar.
Yeah, I grew up in Bessemer, Alabama. Played quarterback in high school. Our senior year, they closed Bessemer High School and they closed Carver High School, and they built Just Lanier, integrated the program, and built Just Lanier High School. And so that was my senior year, and we had a great year. We were 7-2-1, and then I was recruited more heavily by Auburn than I was Alabama. My mom and dad didn't go to college. I had an older brother who was 3 years older than me, and he was at Alabama. He wasn't playing ball, but I almost went to Auburn. I'd always been an Alabama fan. I was a quarterback in high school, and I was looking to play quarterback in college. And Pat Sullivan would have been a senior my freshman year had I gone to Auburn. But I'd always loved Coach Bryant. I'd always loved watching his show on Sunday afternoons at 4 o'clock. And so into the when it came time to make a decision, I decided to go to Alabama, and really am glad that I made that decision. With Coach Bryant went to the Wishbone our freshman year, so I was disappointed about that. But I was moved to defense and ended up starting my junior and senior years, and just made a lot of great friends in Tuscaloosa that I still, you know, talk with and visit with today. And it was just a great experience to play for Coach Bryant because all the lessons that I still look back on and apply in my daily operations every day.
Of course, being an Alabama fan like you were, watching the Coach Bryant television show, well, what was it like when you finally got to talk to him? And then once you make that decision to sign with Alabama, you start to get to know him as a player coach as opposed to being a fan like you had been before.
Back then, John David Crow was the assistant coach. He was an assistant coach in Tuscaloosa, and he handled more of the recruiting. I mean, I talked to Coach Bryant, and Coach Bryant didn't. I mean, he didn't push. I mean, from a recruiting standpoint, I mean, it's just like, hey, because I dealt mostly with Coach Crow, and then I had visited Tuscaloosa a couple of times and sat down and talked to Coach Bryant, and I think somebody, maybe the guys at the Bright Star in Bessemer they were huge Alabama fans, and I think they had made a call to somebody in Tuscaloosa that hey, that Auburn's recruiting him really, really heavy, and if you don't want to lose him, somebody. So one morning I'm getting ready to go to school, and my mom it's about 7 o'clock. My mom comes and knocks on my bedroom door, and she said, "Ricky, Ricky, Ricky, Coach Bryant's on the phone." And I thought, yeah, sure. I would say this was in probably early November. And I'm thinking it's some buddies of mine from high school or something like that. And so I answered the phone and was like, hello. And then all of a sudden hear the voice on the other end of the phone, and there was no mistaking Coach Bryant's voice. And all he said was, I just wanted to let you know how much we want you to come down here. And if you want to be a part of something special, then come on, come on. And if you don't, then go somewhere else. That was his sales pitch. It was kind of like, okay. But my uncle was the only one of my aunts and uncles who had gone to college, and he went to Alabama, and we lived next door to them. And so we had Thanksgiving meals together every holiday. So I walk in the back door, and he's got Yeah Alabama on the record player back then, playing the Alabama fight song. Comes up to me and gives me a big hug. This is right before signing day, because back then you didn't really commit or anything. It was just like we got together with there were 4 or 5 of us from Birmingham, the Birmingham area, who had signed to go to Alabama, and then we all got together and signed your letters. And but you didn't commit anywhere. It was just a matter. So anyway, but that was what my uncle just said. Hey, uh, come on now, we know where you want to go. That's where you got to go to Alabama. So I went to Alabama, and I think it was the right decision for me.
That's certainly good to hear. And you mentioned John David Crow a moment ago. I was curious as well, not just with Coach Bryant, who had an impact on you in your days here at Alabama, but how about some of the other assistant coaches that really helped you become a great football player, ultimately help you achieve
Yeah,
your dreams of playing in the NFL?
yeah, yeah. Coach Oliver, Bill Oliver was the secondary coach, and I'm still in touch with Coach. He lives in Tuscaloosa, and I played 4 years in the NFL. Um, he was the best defensive backfield coach of anybody that I played for in the NFL. He was a fundamentals being, some of the coaches at some of the NFL teams, we'd be watching film about stuff, and I started pretty good bit when I was at Kansas City. And we had a guy named Gary Barbaro was the free safety there. And I was playing strong safety. Barbaro was 6'3", 220, and I was 6'1", 175. And I think but anyway, the starting strong safety got hurt. And so I ended up starting for 6 games. But we'd be watching film of a game, and the defensive backfield coach would be sitting there, and he would tell Gary was an all pro free safety, just a great player. Went to one of the directional schools in Louisiana, and he just wasn't very fundamentally sound with the way that he did things. He just made plays and was a great football player. So the defensive backfield coach at Kansas City, we'd be watching film, and he would say, Gary, watch Davis, look at his feet, look at his hips and all this stuff. And I was kind of embarrassed by it because this guy's an all pro and he didn't need to be watching me do something. And so we'd walk out of the meeting and be going down to the locker room and stuff. I'd say, Gary, I said, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about trying to change it. But yeah, Coach Oliver was such a great coach. And that's how I ended up playing 4 years in the NFL. I got cut my fifth year and decided to go to law school. But I enjoyed the NFL, but I felt like leaving Alabama with Coach Bryant, and I played at Cincinnati my first year, and Paul Brown was the head coach there. The next year, Tampa Bay and Seattle came into the league, and I called Coach Bryant, asked him if he'd call Coach McKay because I felt like if I go to Tampa Bay, they didn't have a starting lineup the previous year, and so he called Coach McKay, and I went to Tampa Bay. I was starting in preseason. You had 6 preseason games back then. I hurt my knee in the last preseason game and ended up missing about the first 10 or 12 games. But anyway, the NFL, I felt like it wasn't, things were better from a coaching standpoint and from a support of the program and all the different things. It was just, in Cincinnati, we were 11-3, had a great team. Paul Brown was the coach there, but it was just, I guess I got spoiled by being in Tuscaloosa with Coach Bryant and the way that he did things and the standards that he set and the way the players reacted to it. The NFL back then, and it's even more so now. And it's just in college football too. But back then, it was a pro. You were a pro. You were getting paid to play. And players, I wanted to win. That was the most important thing to me. And when we won at Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, we didn't win. That was the first year they were in the league, and we were 0-16 and 0-14. I'm sorry. And then the next one, my 2 years in Kansas City, we weren't very good there either. So I wanted to win, and I got disappointed, and I get upset with other players on the teams in the NFL. It didn't seem to bother them when you lost, and that was I wanted to win, and so that was the thing about in Tuscaloosa. Coach Bryant had set that standard, and that was what we expected to do. In the 4 years that we were down, our group was down there. We won 43. We were 43-1 in the regular season, and the one that we lost was my sophomore year, was the Bama punt year. And then we lost. We were 0-4 in bowl games. We couldn't win a bowl game. But it was a great experience. And but I wouldn't. The 4 years in the NFL, it was professional football. But I love playing college football and what it meant to the players and to the fans and to the coaching staffs too.
And talking about your time at Alabama as well, national championship in 1973. The year that's being celebrated coming up this Saturday is the 74 team that won the SEC championship. What made that group special in 74?
Well, the thing, we had a Gary Rutledge and Richard Todd were, the two, and running the wishbone, they played both plays live. Well, what happened the week before we go to play, we opened the 74 season at Maryland, and Coach Bryant had scheduled that game because he wanted to go up east so that we could get more recognition from the Eastern media. And so we go up there the first regular season game, and everybody was kind of thinking, well, Maryland's not very good. Well, they were good. They were really good. I mean, they had, first round draft choice defensive lineman, had a running back, quarterback drafted. They were really. Walter White was a tight end with them on that team. I played with him with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we go up there, and it was a dogfight. We won 21-16 and beat them. But we overcame a lot because Gary got hurt. Gary hurt his shoulder the week before the first regular season game, so he didn't get to play. He was out for about probably 3/4 of the first, of that year for all the games. And then Richard Todd ends up getting hurt in that. And so when we played Tennessee after the Florida State game, when we played like three quarterbacks, and it was second team, third team, and Richard against Florida State, neither Richard or Gary played. And we go to Tennessee, and it was the same way up there. Neither one of them even dressed out for the game, but we still won. So we can't. And running the wishbone, it was just a lot different. But just the thing, what I look back on in the 4 years down there, there were more ways to win back then, I think, than it seemed to be now. I don't know. It's just like I follow college sports, and I still, want Alabama to win and pull for them and all that kind of stuff. But it's just the whole things are different. But it's just I really appreciate Coach Saban and all he did, and Coach DeBoer. I think he's gonna do a great job in Tuscaloosa.
And we mentioned at the top of the show, you're going to be honored as well as Sylvester Croom, of course, your co-captain on that 74 team. And you mentioned you've stayed in business and in friendship with him throughout all the years. Just how proud of you are of him with everything he was able to accomplish following his Alabama playing career, and specifically becoming the first African-American head coach in SEC football history.
Exactly. And that was, we were planning on him being the football coach in Tuscaloosa. And that a lot of that, I think it was in the works to happen, and then someone stepped in and said, "No, we're not going to do that." But Sylvester he's one of my best friends. I mean, we talked, and as I said, he called me, right after the game, the game Saturday, and we talked about that. But I mean, you will not find a better person than Sylvester Croom as a man. I mean, he's a strong Christian. I respect him as much or more than anybody that I know. I mean, I just look at him, and if we all lived our lives like Sylvester has lived his, the world would be a heck of a lot better place. And he just is outstanding. And it's just for me, I mean, he is a great friend. He's a great football coach. He ended up getting the job at Mississippi State. Larry Templeton, the athletic director, Slack turned it down, I think 3 or 4 different times, where Larry, I reached out to Larry after Jackie Sherrill announced his retirement early in the season, and Sylvester and Mike Shula were the 2 finalists for the job in Tuscaloosa, and then Mike got the job, and Sly was with the Packers. And so in September, when Mississippi State was going on probation because of recruiting violations and all kind of stuff that was going on over there, and so Sherrill announced that he was going to retire at the end of the season. And so I didn't know Larry Templeton. Larry was the athletic director of Mississippi State. And so I called a buddy of mine at the SEC office and said, "Hey, can you give me a phone number and put me in touch with Larry Templeton? I want to see if they would be interested in hiring Sylvester." And this was in, October, early October, and during the season. And so I got his number. I called him, and he called me back, and I told him, I said, I work with Sly, and I said, he and I were teammates, and I'm his attorney / agent. And I said, I just was curious if you guys might be interested in looking at it. And Larry told me, he said, "Hey," he said, "I followed everything that happened in Tuscaloosa." He said, "That's who we want to hire. We want to hire Sylvester as our football coach here." And I said, so I called Sylvester and told him what Larry had said. And so I was like, I don't know. I don't think you can win there without cheating, and I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to buy players. I'm not going to do all that kind of stuff. And so I called Larry back and told him, he goes, set up and see if he'll meet with us. And so I called Sly. I said, just meet with him, Sly. I said, he's in Green Bay. You know, he's up there. And so Larry and the president at Mississippi State, they flew to Milwaukee and met Sylvester in Milwaukee. And they finished, and Larry said, it went okay. He said, that's who I want. I want. And I called Sylvester, and he goes, I don't think I want to do that. Because I just don't think that you can win there without, doing things that you're not supposed to do, and I'm not going to do that. And so I called Larry back and told him, and we went, and Larry said, I want to talk to him again. So they made 3 trips to Wisconsin to meet with Sylvester. And it was, Larry called me after the last one. He goes, it went fine. He said, but I'm not sure. And so I called Sly, and I said, hey, Sly, I said, how'd it go? He said, hey, I like him, and I like Larry and the president. He said, but and I said, well, I said, what, Jerry, his wife? And I said, what does Jerry want you to do? I said, well, he said, she wants me to take it. And I said, what about your mom? What does your mom want you to do? And she wants me to take it. And Sly's dad had passed away. Sly's dad was a pastor in Tuscaloosa, just a great man. And then I said, Sly, what would your dad want you to do? And he just, his boy, he just got a chuckle. He said, hey, man, that's not fair. So his dad would have wanted him to take it too, not just because it was a head coaching job, but because there had been no black head football coaches in the Southeastern Conference. And so Sly said, I'll talk to him again. Tell him I'll talk to him again. And so they flew back up there again. And Larry called me at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I was living in South Florida, in Braxton and West Palm Beach. And so Larry called me at 1 o'clock in the morning. They were flying back to Starkville. And Larry says, I think we got him. And so it was, but that's one of the things that I'm most proud of, was being involved in working with Sylvester and with Larry Templeton and the people at Mississippi State. And then, Sly went over there. I think he did a great job there. They had no players because most of the players, Sylvester suspended them, kicked them off the team. If they weren't doing things, they were still trying to do things the way they had been doing it under the coaches. And Sylvester said, no, we're not going to do that. And one of the players, they had to go to class. Before that, they didn't have to go to class. Sylvester made them go to class. And if you didn't go to class, Sylvester, one of the best players on the team, he was not going to class. Sylvester called him in and gave him one more chance to start going to class, or you're off the team. And so he wasn't going to class. Sylvester called him in and said, you're done. And they called his mother, and Sylvester wanted to tell the player's mother that he was no longer on the team. And the mom was crying on the phone with Sylvester, pleading with Sylvester to let her son and get back on the team. And Sylvester said, no, ma'am, I'm sorry, I can't do that because this is the standard that I'm setting here. And if I let him get away with it, then what do I do with the rest of the team? And so he kicked the best player on the team off the team and then he's the SEC coach of the year before he got fired at Mississippi State. And so, and it was just, I think it boiled down to, I don't know. I just think that there were other reasons other than just the the wins and the losses, that some people that had never really been pleased with him being the head coach over there to begin with. I think those are the people that stepped in at that point.
Well, again, he's a great Alabama legend. We can't wait to have him in town, as well as you. Be honored for this Alabama-South Carolina game. Ricky, just thank you for all the time you've given us today here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, sharing some memories, and have fun with your teammates from the 74 team. I know you guys will have a good time. Thanh you for your time today. Roll Tide.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.